Let's make sure that audio is all right. Outstanding, man. We are live right now. Just want to say thanks to everybody. Great audience here, guys. I know we're doing our Monday. It's episode 3 here. We're reviewing episode 3. I want to say shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison. I see you guys out there. I see a couple of the Mooch Maniacs. New Tonian is here. Kratos99 is also in the chat. Shout out to Kratos. Great to have this amazing panel with us tonight. I want to also give a shout out again to C-Note Matthews. C-Note putting together a new beat for us this week. He keeps on sending me these amazing beats. Now I got to have him do all my music. It's crazy. He knows what he's doing. He's a professional. That's what he does. I'm going to get into a quick roundabout here. Let you guys know who's on the show tonight. And then we're going to get right into it. Because there's a lot to talk about. And I try to keep these shows between an hour and a half. And today I've been told I have to stay closer to that hour. So that being said, let me start with the one and only Kay Asante. Great to have you here, buddy. How you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm good. I appreciate the invite. And I really need some information about the man that creates these beats, because, bro, you got me in the zone here. This is better than last week's, and that's saying something.
It's saying something, isn't it? He keeps outdoing himself. Yes. Shout out to C-Note, man. Just a talented guy. And absolutely, Asante, I will send it to you through the show.
Send me them digits, bro. I want to talk to that man. He's doing good work. It's good
Guy's
stuff.
Amazing. Absolutely. Shout out to C-Note. Appreciate that. The great Red Hood 420. You guys know him. He was at Crossfire just the other day as well. Red, great to have you on this show. How you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, but before the show, had some dinner, worked out before, and yeah, by the way, that beat is fire. Like I listened
Nuts,
to
right?
this one, the new one, dope, and then the old one still dope as well. So I was like, wow, it's pretty good. The guy's talented.
Absolutely. I'll actually play the other one on the way out. That way we will get another 3 minutes of the great C note. Appreciate that, Red. Thank you. And then new to the channel here, I haven't had him on Crossfire. I haven't had him on this show naturally. A Maniac Giant, it's great to have you here, buddy. You reached out to me, and that's the kind of stuff that inspires me. I like that. I inquire people all the time. Reach out. You want to get on the show? Let's talk games. Maniac, great to have you here tonight, buddy. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing great, and great to be here. Thanks for the invite. That was
Absolutely.
awesome. And I mean, you got to ask, right?
You do. It's funny. Shout out to Jay Bari and Persona, who said this best on What's Up PlayStation. A closed mouth never gets fed, right? So that's so you always, as a mooch, I encourage you to always ask many times, as a matter of fact.
What do they say? You get 0 of the shots that you don't shoot. So.
That's correct.
That's true.
100% accurate. Great to see
Thanks for
everybody.
having me. Great to be here. Yeah.
No, absolutely, guys. Please tweet it out. Let everybody know that we are here live. I'm going to start with Red. Red, listen. First thing I like to do on the show, and I'll say Santi's already a veteran of this. I like to just get your take. I'll give my opinion at the end. I'll go last. But I want to get your take on just very, very top level. What did you think of the show? And we have to talk about it. We have to talk about how each show slightly does and does not stick with the game, right?
Yeah.
So overall, want to get your impressions of the show. And then what do you think about how we kind of went in a different direction again with this newest episode?
Yeah. Before like hearing the announcements, like HBO and Craig Mason, right, who did Chernobyl, by the way, great show. People should always check that show out. Very underrated. I feel like it doesn't get enough shine in terms of viewership, but like when I heard him on board, I was pretty confident the show would be pretty good. But going into like episode 1, loved it. Episode 2 was good, and
yes,
like there were some slight deviations, of course, like no spores and all that, which was also discussed with each of the episodes that you guys were doing, and it was interesting takes, and as well as kind of like going back to the past and present, which they're kind of doing that throughout like each episode. It feels very consistent that they're doing that since episode 1, then episode 2 with the doctor, and now episode 3 where we see Bill's point of view, kind of like during like the early stages of it and him getting the whole town set up. And like overall, first 2 episodes I thought were really good. I know this episode very divisive for the internet. I'm very like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But I thought overall, because like of course the game fan in me would absolutely love to have seen kind of not 1-to-1, but like similar vein as to like seeing the iconic moments.
yes,
But being like pushing that to the side, I thought it was still like a good episode regardless. But that's just me though. Everyone has different takes, and I respect everyone's opinion when it comes to that. So I know like some people didn't care for it, which
absolutely,
is totally fine.
Well, I mean, like I said, it is totally fine. I'm gonna Maniac here. Maniac, I want to ask you the same question, but just with a slightly different second verse here. Okay, I want to get your take on the episode and get as specific as you want. But the other thing I'm really, really interested to know is Bill was a very strong character in the game. I think he was equally as strong on the show here. But how do you think the actor portrayed Bill as you were playing him through the game, or not? You didn't play as Bill, but as you experienced Bill in the game, how did that transpire onto the big screen in Hollywood? How did that? Was it a 1-for-1?
I don't know if it's a 1-for-1, but I think he did an amazing job with that role last night for that show, for what it was. I mean, because in the game, like last night's show, like 90% of it, that was 100%, uncharted territory for us. Even like I played the game through 2.5 times, and all that stuff was new last night. So for them to flesh out that really, intricate backstory for us to see, I think it was really great. Obviously, I know a lot of people probably wanted to see the school, but you know.
You know, they were very clear. Neil was very clear. I believe the entire staff that produced and directed it were clear that they're going to deviate from the game.
Yeah.
Right. And I you know, again, we do this every week, and I apologize to you guys that are not big fans of The Walking Dead, but every single week I had somebody who was a Walking Dead fan of the comics write me and go, Mooch, this is where we deviated. They didn't do this. They didn't do this. This person died a long time ago, or this person hasn't even died yet, and they're dead in the show. They deviated from it. And again, I ask you all to please erase the last maybe 4 or 5 seasons you didn't care for in The Walking Dead, back when it was a big hit. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. And yeah, you do have emotions tied to the game, much like myself. Also, I've beaten the game, has to be almost 4 times. I'm on my fifth playthrough now. And, you know, I'm coming as I call myself a super fan. I love it. I honestly don't have a problem with the way that they're kind of deviating from the story. But again, you know, Peniac, do you have any more to add on it? Otherwise, I'll ask Asante.
The one thing I was slightly disappointed about with this episode was there wasn't a cold open, because those 2 cold opens in the first 2 episodes were phenomenal. You had the British doctor there talk about how if, you know, the fungus mutated, and then you had the Indonesian doctor telling the army guy to bomb the city. It's like, holy wow. So I was like, oh man, not one of those this time. Okay, whatever. Carry on.
That's a good point, because I did start last week's show asking the panel. I said, wow, episode 2's first 10 minutes almost gave episode 1's first 10, 15 minutes a run for its money. This time it was different. This time we started with what I'll just call just a typical series. Episode 3 goes into story, right?
Yeah, title card, like, literally just the title card, and then into it.
Yeah,
I was shocked by that. I wasn't gonna lie. I thought it would have something before the title card. They just went right into the title card.
Although the difference though is, whereas the other 2 shows had flashbacks at the beginning, this whole show was a flashback. So it kind of did fulfill certain, you know, maybe that's why they didn't do a cold open, because all their cold opens have been up until now hearkening from the past to get you to where you are in the present. Whereas this whole episode was basically like level setting to why we are where we are. So I guess it kind of makes sense maybe why they didn't cold open it and give you another flashback, you know, because the whole thing is within the show proper in episode 3 anyway. So.
Yeah, and I think maybe with the first 2 episodes, maybe there's been enough prior world building that maybe they don't need to do those anymore.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Asante, you know what? I'll go to you, and I do want to get your opinion of the show, but I gotta have Bender of Strings is up here. He says, I'm pissed at the episode for killing off Bill and cheating us out of seeing the great interactions between him, Ellie, and Joel. So I'm not saying you have to answer that specifically, but give us the overall synopsis of what you thought of the show. And then do you think we kind of, as gamers, got cheated on Bill? And then I'll give my take on it. And I think I have a spin here. I've been thinking about it all night and early this morning. After playing the game so many times, what I think about Bill and his interaction and how it ended up on the show. Go ahead, Asante.
I will tell you, I consider yesterday's episode masterclass filmmaking. I consider it one of the best episodes they've done so far. And the reason why I consider that is because it's a deviation from the game, right? The thing that I think is super interesting about this game, about this show, that's unique to this show, unlike any other show, is you always want to figure out how they translate what you remember from the games, right? Whatever that show may be, or whatever that content may be, when you sit down to watch the TV show or movie adaptation, you're there as a gamer trying to figure out how they will, you know, thread that needle for you, specifically the gamer. In this instance, nothing they showed you had anything to do one for one with the game you played, but you understood it all because it gave you the context for what you were playing. And you don't need to go beat for beat for what you've played, because that was an interactive medium where you're going and you're doing and you're avoiding traps and you're doing this. And you're learning about who Bill is by all the crazy things that you're going through to get to Bill. Whereas in this instance, they couldn't do that for you. You're not playing it, you're just watching it, right? So instead, they had to show you how he became the crazy freak he became and his love story and all of that, which I thought, because when I I cheated a little bit. Like last week, I saw next week's episode, not the episode, but the episode title. So Bill and Frank, or was it Frank and Bill, right? So I'm like, how are you going to call this episode Frank and Bill when we know Frank is never actually seen in the show? It's all about the books the notes you read and all of this.
Yes.
So this is literally them showing you all those notes, but threaded together in a real cohesive, hey, this is how we get to where Bill is. Now, to address the idea that we lost Bill and we lost those interactions, it's one scene you lost, literally one scene, right? Because you never see Bill again, right?
That's it. Thank you.
You never see Bill again.
Yes.
So whether he's dead or he's alive, he's fulfilled his purpose for the story that they're telling. And how they fulfilled it here versus how they fulfill it in the games, honestly, I think this is, and I know we're on a show podcast, but I have to like harken back to a little bit of gaming threaded, the needle threading that I heard. Phil Spencer did a recent interview where he talked greatly about how great this show is, and he was talking about how Neil Druckmann was on. This is Neil Druckmann's influence, and I think this will and should change how video game adaptations go change moving forward, because it's not like, oh, how are we going to retell this story? It's about how are we going to fill in the gaps for the new medium that we're in. So it's exactly the same story, right? But you can tell Neil literally went, well, we can't have them play it to go meet them, so let's fill it in another way that gives you the same vibe, the same feeling, this conveys the same message, but in a movie/TV way format. And for me, it was a perfect. I mean, I could not have done it better, and the actors were, excellent.
Well,
it couldn't be better.
Asante, I said it when you were on the first week, and Red and Maniac, I want you guys to hear this. Like, the one thing about this is and gamers wanting to stay close to the story,
which it was kind of.
We are attached to it, and it was. But in order for us, even the gamers, if someone's never played The Last of Us, if you've never played The Last of Us, okay, then every episode for you is new and exciting. For us, we kind of know what's coming down the pipe, right? Especially as we go into season 2. Let's not talk about that. Right? So I really welcome these enhanced stories. And I want to say something, and I wrote it here, so apologize. I'll go freelance in a minute here. But everyone is so like, you took away Bill from us, the Bill that we know from the game. But let's stop and think about the game for a minute. There's the interaction, okay, when Joel gets into one of the traps and his leg goes up in the air, and we have to do that, the shooting the zombies while Ellie gets the counterweight down. Then we're running with Bill. I'm going fast here. We go into that bar, we close it. Ellie then picks up things, starts hitting Bill. They have an interaction. Basically, it's a whole lot of get this girl off me, and then it's him.
There's a lot of quipping back and forth between the two.
It's him and Joel. Apparently, there's a debt owed from the past.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very clear. And then it's a lot of, how's Tess? Can't believe you're not here with Tess. And Joel doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they go to the hideout, the church. Okay. We get the bomb ingredients there. We get the recipe for that. There's more talking. We go through the area there. Then we run through the neighborhood, and then we run into Frank's body. Okay.
Yeah.
And he talked about his partner before. He doesn't get into too much depth with it. Then we see him and he goes, that's Frank. And then he talks about him. And he talks about him with true story, with true sadness, and you can see love and admiration. Then we go just a short step forward in the game, and the note is found. And they go give the note to Bill. He reads it. He reads it in disgust because basically Frank kind of told him off. Guys, tell me if I'm remembering it in a way that's not right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see him almost, if not he did, tear up. So you saw sadness, you saw anger, crumples the paper, throws it on the ground.
Yep.
So if you stop and think about it, the Bill we know, except for the few interactions where he says, you and Tess, and he goes, and Joel's like, I don't want to talk about it. And then the few interactions where he tells Ellie to get off his stuff, leave my stuff alone. And he basically tells her off a couple of times. That was our interaction with Bill. So
He's a one note, one-sided coin in the game.
and that's
Like,
exactly.
I think the bill of the show is 10 times better than
that's
the show.
what I'm trying to get at.
Than the
Asante.
game, yeah.
The bill that we just witnessed was the exact same bill,
Yep.
but it's peeling the onion back. There's tons of layers to this man with emotion. You see how he has the bunker. You see how he was one of those people that was always set for something like this.
Oh yeah, he was a conspiracy theory, like nut
Conspiracy
job
theory,
and a survivalist too.
He didn't believe the government. He didn't believe this. He didn't believe any of that stuff. And then you get, the relationship with Frank, and you see how that grows. And I gotta have their. I wish I had their actual names up right now. I don't know why I don't have the gentleman's name that played Frank. He's from the White Lotus.
Yeah, I know him. And then Nick Offerman.
Nick
Offerman.
Offerman. Bill, and I don't.
Nick Offerman deserves an Emmy for his performance, man.
So-
That's all a lot of
dude
people are
was
saying.
brilliant.
Mark, I'm going to say this one last thing, and then I want to hear what you guys think about my the whole shtick on like Bill and Frank.
Oh yeah, I got a lot to say
think-
about that.
I think this episode is nominated for an Emmy.
And if it's not, it's a travesty.
This would be the one. I think
Yeah.
this one gets nominated for an Emmy. And I purposely put my phone away during these while I watch it the first time. I love how HBO plays it back to back to back to back on Sunday. I always watch it twice. But I didn't pick up my phone until I was done watching it the entirety. And I definitely turned to my wife. I said, this was just an amazing episode. And then I saw, listen, everyone's got an opinion. And no, I'm not saying anybody's wrong, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And we're gonna get more into it. But Red, go ahead and give me a little bit about how you said you have such an opinion on this, and maybe even some of the stuff that I was saying.
So what was interesting to think about the game, right, was like in the show, it's the like basically opposite, right? Like in the game, he was very paranoid, right? And he let somebody in, and basically he kind of drove that person away. Basically, like if you read the note or something like that, he didn't like him, and then that's why he left or something like that. But in the show, and then I think that like him and Joel had a conversation either if it was after finding Frank or before, and he basically was like, that girl's gonna get you killed, and also like you can't really like let anybody in, essentially, right?
Right.
Whereas like this, like because it like kind of like builds upon Joel and Ollie a little bit in the way of when we probably talk more about it with the note, is like kind of showing Frank and Bill kind of like letting Frank in, right? And basically now living for the both of them, right? Which is an interesting take to kind of do, and them like depending on one another, and it kind of gives that push for Joel to start. Granted, Bill's intention for that note was to have Joel open more up for Tess and his feelings for Tess, but in reality, it's really intentionally what the writers are doing is having Joel open more, his heart out to Ellie, essentially.
That's really an outstanding point, Red. And I made a point last week to say, just before they were heading to the Capitol, when Ellie said something, Tess said something, then they went down off that roof, down the ladder. Joel took a second and he stared down at his broken watch after Ellie had said something to him, very daughter-like, I think, too, and left. And it's all of this is a gradual picture, a door opening every single episode, a little bit more. That's Joel going from that cold individual that he is to what he becomes I think we see by the end of this season, which we know also by the end of part one in the game.
And another thing to note is like and it even harkens to like the end of Last of Us. So, like you got to keep on fighting for someone. Like you have to have that goal, like your loved ones, right? Paraphrasing for the ending, which like that's kind of like hitting home for that. So it's very interesting that they're kind of like doing that, and I think it's like a good way of doing it, because like when you're in Bill's town, like Bill's pushing you or pushing Joel away from Ellie, and it's like, bro, this is not the way, man. So
right.
It was a very like opposite take, and it's just like I thought it was interesting that they went that route. I thought, like I said, would I love all that like a 1-to-1? Absolutely, but I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good still.
Well, look at it. We were concerned about the spores. They answered it back with the strains and the actual, the way the cordyceps actually travel, how they communicate by just vibration, right? So they've tackled a few things that they stepped away from the game. Shout out to Alpha Will here. He says, please explain. And he's not being sarcastic at all. He had a couple of prior to this. He says, please explain how Bill's character expanding fleshes out the world. I think Red just did a really good job of saying how it expands, maybe not the world, Alpha.
Joel
and Joel, for example.
Yeah.
It
seems like every person they meet, whether it's a lasting character or not, is in service of establishing who Joel becomes and how he and Ellie connect. And I said this on my show last week. If I use this analogy all the time, and it's very good here. If you want to know how well a car is made, look at the what do you call it, the cup holders. If you want to know how well a show is made, look at the throwaway characters, the characters they kill. Like such well-rounded, full, complete, well thought of characters that you see once and never see again. Right? That tells you the quality and the amount of time and effort they're putting in to thread that needle and really, really make sure that even you, as a person who's a diehard gamer who has played through the game multiple times, has something new there. Right? I really thought they did excellent work this time. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and shout out to I'm just seeing there was a couple of great chats here. Mamba says here, this episode had so much meaning. Most people in the world are just trying to survive. This episode showed the viewers and ultimately Joel that is not just about surviving, but living. Yep. And, Maniac, I'll go to you, I guess. I really want to talk about this for a minute. What did you think ultimately of like each scenario? There's a couple of big ones, right? So there's the meeting of Frank and Bill, right? He was in one of his traps. They met that way. Then there was also the whole argument between the two. You can see after was it 5? I think it said after 4 years together, they had that argument. They didn't see eye to eye on that. There was the raid that occurred, which I want to talk about that raid a bit, because I would say if anything, that may be the one thing that as I was watching it, even I've watched it now 3 times. I will say this much. That raid, I was scratching my head. And Penny, I guess I'll throw the volleyball up. You could spike it. When Bill was shot and he's on the table, Frank's, got his hand over his wound. And he's like, he does say, get a hold of Joel, and we'll get into that in a second. That's a different question. Mm-hmm. But, he's like, don't worry about it. The electric fence will stop them. And I'm thinking, even in the video game, that didn't stop. You know what I mean? These guys, they would have some sort of a ramrod, and they would just come right through that fence. So what did you think about all the levels to Billstown as we kind of progress through the story?
Well, he was like, pretty hard at first. I mean, aside from the first meeting where he, cooked all the meal, and then they went and had the big argument, right? Where he didn't want Frank to use paint. Like, what do you need paint for? Right? Like, Bill, like, why are you hoarding paint? And then, and then the strawberries part was good, and the raid part was funny because, like, I'm watching this with my wife, and she has, I'd say, next to no knowledge about the show. So, Bill gets shot. He goes in. She's like, is he dying? He's going to die right now, isn't he? And I'm like, I'm not sure because I don't know what's going to happen in this part that we don't know anything about.
Right.
So, all new. But,
well, the thing is, once they fast forwarded the clock, right, Peniak, once they fast forwarded the clock and it was like Bill was old and Frank was in the wheelchair, I was like, wait a minute. We've already passed the part where Joel and Ellie would have came in again. Yeah, I knew something was up. I will say this much: I'm not a tarot card reader. I can't predict the future. I did think when Joel and Ellie got there, I thought the way that the story would have changed was they were just going to fast forward it again, and Bill would have been damn near, very old. Where he was, basically unable to even move, and maybe that was going to be the final scene with them, and maybe something like that. But the way they ended it, I thought was fine. And again, Asante says it best. For all of you that go, no, I wanted more Bill. Yes, we could have. They could have made 2 episodes of Billstown. I'm not saying that they couldn't. There's plenty there, but Bill's not. After we leave Billstown, he's out of part 1. Yeah, he's not in part 2. And let's just say, you say, well, let's say part 2 never came out. Maybe he could have been in part 2. The thing about it is We all know what happened to Joel. Joel's the link to Bill. Ellie wasn't going back there after they went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That was it.
You know? Yeah, I noticed. I remember the game. It was like thinking about it even to part 2. I was like, oh yeah, he's still alive.
He's gone. He's gone. Like, you know, you can celebrate him, but he's gone. He's done, you know?
Yeah.
But I do agree that I do think that they did such a great job with him, though. I really do. Most of the time, you know, and I hear folks in the chat, you know, and I don't know how much you want to address it, Mooch, you know, people who have a problem with how he was depicted and the same sex relationships and all of that.
Yeah.
Man, Bill was a badass. Like,
yes,
I have not seen a same-sex relationship depicted the way they did there from jump. That dude was a badass. I don't know anybody who has a problem with how they depict him, how he looks.
I couldn't have said that
right?
better myself. Outstanding.
How he looks, how he fights, what he thinks, what he is. Yeah, you know, he has emotions like everybody else, but in general, that dude was a badass, and I think they did a great job depicting him.
You can pour that glass of wine perfectly too.
He did. Yes, he did.
I was gonna say, because I forgot, like you mentioned the raid thing, and I was gonna say because I wanted to touch upon that, and I was like, that might have been like probably my negative for that episode was like to me it was like Bill, I felt like wouldn't have been out in the open like that, especially making the comment, "Oh, the fence will, you know, finish them." I was like, was there a point of you being out in the open shooting, or you could have maybe went to a different building, had a better angle like that? That's the only, I guess, negative for that episode for me when it came to that aspect of it. I was just like, yeah. I was like, the man like went up and just was like on the open, got shot like that. I was like, oh.
I mean, it does counteract what you know about Bill up until that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Like, everyone lost. Was kicked out of the entire town except for him, hiding away, looking at all the jackboot thugs walking by, right? He had cameras everywhere. He knew where everyone was, where everything is at any time. He's able to cook, do everything he needs to do. But these dudes who Joel has telegraphed will be there, show up, and you didn't see it happening.
Yeah.
And you walk out in the open and start shooting. That was the only part that I was like, he would have seen that miles away. Them traps would have gotten them miles away because that's who he is.
The traps would have went off. The bombs would have went off. I mean, it was pretty badass with the flamethrowers.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. You know, and shout out to John Wolf. John, I respect your opinion. I don't know how you found it boring. I mean, I watched it 3 times. I thought it was an outstanding show. Everyone has their opinion, and I wish John was on the show because I'd love to hear his take on it.
John Wolf, great dude. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, he is. Oh, John's been on Crossfire many times. Great to have John here in the chat. No, John, hey, listen, you're more than welcome to that opinion. I just think that, man, it's because of the fact that I played the game so much. I wanted to know more about Bill. Because, you know, everyone goes, well, that's not the Bill we know. Again, I broke it down. I won't do it again. But Bill wasn't really that deep of a character in the game. Now, when you think of Bill, you got a lot. There's a lot more background. There's a lot more to him. And like you said, Asante, there's a side of him that's a warrior, you know, and then there's a side of him that he's got a soft side. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing. You're spending your entire life. Let's call it what it is. He would have spent the entire. If Frank didn't come along, he was going to live the rest of his life alone.
Yep.
And we saw that play out. You know, so. Legitimately, I thought there was just so much. There was so much complexity to this.
And to your point, Mooch, how he even went out, even that was on his own terms. And the way they did that, I was like, yep, that's definitely a Bill move.
And that's
like,
that badass 100%. Attitude, right?
Yes,
he's not going out unless it's under his own terms.
That's right. You know, just like Tess. Remember we had this conversation too. I was like, Tess, badass character. Same thing here. They did such a great job filling in that person. And you'll never see him again. He was a throwaway character, but it's just, you want to show it just to Bill. Like, he was just so good, you know.
And, you know, I have a shout out. The super chat's working, guys. It's a miracle. But I do have one quick one here. Mega Davo says, he said that last episode was trash. He didn't like it. Dave, you got every right to not like the show. You know, we're here for everyone's opinions. I didn't know what anybody on the panel right now was going to say. We didn't talk about it. And even when we started to before the show, I said, guys, save it for on the air. I want to hear what you have to say because a reaction from the panel will spark an interest from another panel member. And so let me go ahead and ask you, Red.
Yeah.
I got to go to you on this one. Asante kind of said it. but I'm going to ask it in a different way. Bill doesn't really trust anybody. He was a conspiracy theorist, right? We're at least assuming that from what we saw in his bunker. But why is it he actually says, and shame on me, the iPad fell asleep. Why is it he allows Tess and Joel to come through, even though I know Frank wanted them there? And then when he gets shot, he says, and I put this in quotes. I literally I did this off of memory, so if I'm paraphrasing, he says, "Call Joel, he'll take care of you." With that short interaction, that small amount of time together, it looked like they were together for a day. Maybe it was 2 days at most. I think it was 1 day. I don't even think he let them stay over. Where did that trust come from with Bill out of nowhere when he's sitting at dinner and basically had the gun pointed at Joel the whole time?
Yeah, I'm trying to think because of watching the episode, because I know the interaction was they were still trading, right, throughout afterwards. So I don't know whether or not, like how much they were trading, but like it was to the point where it's like when we saw the strawberry scene, it was like, oh, I gave them a gun and they gave us strawberry seeds, made the strawberries, right? So it was like at that point, it definitely felt like he doesn't trust them, but like to the point where it's like I feel like he'll never trust anyone completely, right? And that's really his nature besides Frank. But like you even see that in a note. It's like, I don't really like you, but I could still kind of call you like a friend, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really where it came from, because he thought, he was going to die. And it was a interesting take. And I also think it's going to try to like play a driving force to like, I know people don't want to like hear it like season 2 with Joel and Tommy's community. Like, I think that like him seeing this and this instance with Bill and Frank will solidify like their, Joel and Ellie's lives with Tommy and the Dam and like season 2.
Apex says, he says because Frank was in his life, he let his guard down. You could say he maybe let his guard down.
I feel like that.
Well, there's trust, right? There's trust. So, because Frank even says it, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. When that argument in the street, Frank said, this is my neighborhood too. This is my town too. So this isn't just yours anymore. So Apex, you may have a point there. A couple of great ones here. Matty Beast also. Shout out to Matty Beast. Great to see him here too. Joel immediately knew how to protect the place, the fence. He knew Joel could protect. So he already got that vibe. But the thing about it, okay, so let me spin it around. Asante, I'll go to you then. Maniac, I'm coming to you next. Let's spin this the other way around. Joel and Tess literally said at the beginning of episode 2, we are not good people. And we know that. We all four.
Yeah, they lied.
Knows that.
They lied a little bit.
They lied through their teeth, right? Even Joel was like, "Oh, we can do this swapping and this and that." Joel
they said it to Bill and Frank. Oh, we're good people. I'll like.
And remember, well, Bill even called him out, and he goes, "Oh, aren't I lucky to find the only 2 good ones walking around left?" But why didn't? So again, I'm doing a Superman 2 on you, right? Where he pushed on the crystal and the powers took the powers away from the other side. Asante, why didn't Joel and Tess see the ammunition, see the guns, see the food, see the livestock, see everything, the supplies? Why didn't they do what they do to everybody else? Why'd they let Bill and Frank exist?
Probably because of and you can see the narrative permeating throughout the whole thing. And to me, it crystallized with that note at the end that was written to Joel. It takes one to see one. The reason why when Bill gets shot, and the first thing he says is call Joel, is because he recognizes himself in Joel. I'm a hard ass. I will do what I need to do to take care of mine, and so will he. And I recognize that in him. That's why when we're having a conversation, I'm not taking my gun off of him, because I know if he wants to, he can get at it. And I don't want him to get at it. So as such, I'm going to keep my gun with me. He recognized a fellow protector in himself, right? And that's why at the end, he gave him the words of advice he gave him, because Bill could tell Joel was a person like him who could potentially be also very isolated and very lonely if he doesn't open up. That is the reason why, and the point that you made, as far as the strawberry scene and a few other scenes, it looks to me, and it's all interpretation, of course, but it looks to me like the strawberry scene and a few others, the way they talked about Tess and Joel, it seems like some of the trade and some of the interactions that they had, we weren't privy to.
It was off screen.
So it's like they showed the first time, right? Dinner, lunch, and all of that at gunpoint. And then a few times that those names were sprinkled in during their conversations, presumably kind of filling us in that they have had, constant interactions with these people on occasions that we haven't seen. So, when it's all said and done and it's like, hey, Joel, do this, do that. Even though I don't like you, I recognize you because I see myself in you. And I know if I don't tell you this, you could potentially fall victim to the same thing I fell victim to, which was being isolated and alone. You're a protector. You need someone to protect. Do that. Right. It really, really it worked for me. It worked very, very well because Bill specifically was telling that to Joel, somebody he recognizes is him.
And shout out to Black Mamba. He says Bill and Frank equal Joel and Tess.
And Tess, yes, the ones that need protecting versus the protectors.
Outstanding point.
Yes.
And then this is interesting too. I think it was Mr. Tennis here. I'll put it up. He says, Mooch, don't forget Tess was in constant contact with them in Billstown. He's talking about the show.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what Tess's opinion had on Joel's view of Bill. I think there was a mutual respect factor between Joel and Bill, but I don't think either of them truly trusted each other. And didn't he say that in the note at the end? He said, "I don't." Did he say I don't?
He said he doesn't really like him, but
I don't like him.
But he can consider him kind of like a friend or something like that. But I was going to mention what Asante was saying when it came to the trading. It's like, remember the conversation Joel and Bill were having when it came to the fence, like they needed aluminum. I don't think if they had any type of trading, that fence probably would have came down
during the fight, during the absolutely. And to the point of the chat that just came up, just like Joel and Bill are equal, so is Tess and Frank, right?
Yep.
They each, and by that I mean, you notice from jump, what does Tess say? I control him. I tell him where he goes. He goes there. What happens when Frank shows up? Frank basically starts controlling Bill.
Yep.
Right? He starts telling him what to, and he needs that. He needs somebody to protect. He needs somebody who will let him out of his shell. Same thing that Joel needs. Hence Tess. Right? So it was a very, very interesting juxtaposition where you saw one relationship situation mimic another relationship situation, which dynamics are different, but they're identical in the same way. That's the reason why I think that Joel, when Bill left that note, he literally spelled it out for him and said, I see myself in you.
Yes.
Do better.
Yes.
Did
you see also, I just got to say, Apex just sent a memory to me because I wrote a note of it down. He said, how about that gun arsenal in the bunker? Did you guys see what else was down in his bunker? A workbench.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, yeah. I was like, dude, this is a lot of good. This guy collected.
A workbench, a shirt that basically came from Ellie in the video game that ended up on Ellie in the show. Like there was a lot of nice Easter eggs in that bunker.
Yeah, so Peniak, I'll go to you on this. So let's talk about some of the similarities. We talked about some of the differences. And by the way, if you guys want to go back on any of this, don't feel because I've moved to another question. If something comes up that hits you, we'll go back. But Peniak, what about the subtle differences, right? So Ellie does have the conversation about the Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine. Of course, this time it's in Joel's what is it? What do they actually put it? Joel's stash house and not the pizza place like in the game. Mm-hmm. But what did you think about some of the similarity? There were similarities to the game and references made this week as well.
Yeah, I'll hit on that. I want to go back to what you said before about why didn't Joel and Tess decide
go ahead.
to
answer that one first.
Take Bill and take Frank. And I think that there's probably a lot of mutual respect there eventually. And I also think it's not like Joel and Tess were scraping by, right? In the QZ, like they were feared, probably very respected
I think
people in there. So
yes.
they probably like that, to be honest, if they think about it.
Good
But
point.
yeah, the Mortal Kombat game, that was awesome.
The conversation was very similar too. If it wasn't, was it
yeah.
word for word or was it very close?
It was
Very
kinda close,
close.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely like Bella like killed it when it came to the mannerisms, and I was like whoa, but I wanted to like discuss. A lot of people were kind of discussing it, and talking about the infected, and her going down whatever the basement and
Yes.
seeing the infected. I think it was like a couple boulders or something like the infected is stuck. I think they're also trying to present, and I noticed in episode 1, and they kind of like talk about it, right? That like she kind of likes when Joel killed the soldier, right? Because she's never felt somebody protecting her, right? And killing like somebody to like Joel to kill and protect. And she liked that feeling, and then killing the infected. I think they're trying to also present a narrative that is probably going to go into season 2, which will have more, I guess, like an easy way of like understanding that Ellie is also capable of revenge in season 2.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about what will happen at season 2. She's a wonderful little girl right now. I don't know what you're talking about. Come on now, let's keep moving.
I want to give a shout out to the practical effects on that infected guy down in the basement. Like when it was zoomed in on him really tight, like wow, that's some makeup, man.
Henry, I'm glad you brought that up. I got to ask you guys. So, everybody knows this in the chat. Everybody knows that follows me. I'm a big fan of zombies, right? I like zombie games, I like zombie movies, TV shows, fill in the blank. What do you guys think about, again, you just said you were impressed, but overall, you've seen some gruesome looking zombies in movies, TV shows that you go, wow, that's pretty good. You've seen bad ones too, but let's go for the good ones. The money's definitely here on this one. Are these as frightening, less frightening, or more frightening than, let's say, some of the eeriest ones from the good seasons of Walking Dead, or anything else that comes to mind for you guys for zombies?
I would say from all the episodes, I would say the one that like was like, yeah, I would rather be in the Walking Dead universe than Last of Us was episode 2, where like the horde started coming in. I was like, yeah, no, because like the zombies are in Walking Dead very like slow. And here,
they're lethargic. They're just blah.
Yeah, where they are like, and just went. I was like, yep, nope. And they're all interconnected with the.
Yeah, and they were like a mile away or something like that.
I was
like,
no.
When the tendril touched them, they all just.
These are the 28 days later zombies that like know how to sprint. They're coming after you.
Yeah, the World War Z zombies.
That's right.
So
that's right.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys, and I got to give credit. My wife is the one that screamed it out. The minute that Ellie went into the basement where Joel's stash was, right? Now, hear me out, guys. The minute she went into there and she alerted him, my wife says, oh my God, he moved. That I bet you that's
going to alert a bunch of others.
That's going to set it off. Now, that doesn't mean that every single one that's on the ground isn't, but there's a lot of them that are connected. The only way you can kind of say that maybe it wasn't was because that area was the area that one of the old, was it the QZ zones there, where they were having the DZ zones where they were burning people, so there was no infected left, right? He said that. Joel says that.
Yeah, and they showed the group of people too, with like the pregnant woman, and like she had the same, not pregnant woman, a mother that had her baby, and she had the same shirt. I was like, geez, and then they showed the aftermath.
That's right.
With that, I was like, wow.
But did you guys think that too when the basement dweller kind of came to? You're like, oh my God, that could definitely wake up a horde.
I didn't.
They've established it, right? But, they've established that narrative, right? You're slowly creeping, and it potentially lifts up, right? They got rid of the spores to introduce that, right?
Yeah,
and that worked well. Exactly, that worked well. So I do see. We were so excited and so enthralled about what was happening that we didn't necessarily pay attention to that. That was a bit of a gap in the story, right? You'd potentially think that maybe it would have alerted others, and it didn't. That's a bit of a hole. But nobody really focused on that.
But on the way there, Ellie was like, "So there's not really infected out here," and Joel's like, "Not really."
True. They did kind of explain it. So, they did show the dead bodies and all of that. So I do see your point. Yeah.
Yeah, that
but
was
real quick,
great.
Mooch,
No,
to
go
your
ahead.
point about how what you think about the scariness of it all.
Yes.
I too am a huge zombie guy. I've all the 28 days, 28
Yes.
weeks,
I've seen them all.
all the stuff. I love that. So to me, it's not about scary. It's about different. It's about how can you do something else that has not been done over and over and over and over.
Right.
The Walking Dead, like, right? Some zombie games, some zombie movies and shows have gone so far in so many different directions. How can you one up what's already established? And chances are you can't. So maybe do something different. And the fungus aspect of this is very different, right? You can put this zombie next to other zombies from other shows, and you can pick him out in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
Compared to all the others you've seen, right?
Yes.
It's very different. I think that's interesting. I think that makes it worth watching, because if you're going to go for scary, you have to be the scariest. And there are so many others that are out there, and you don't want to play that game. Being different is unique, and they're definitely different, right?
Yeah. No, that's
seeing a mushroom growing out of somebody's eye really just like,
Yeah.
it raises the eyebrow,
Yeah, and I like how there's the different levels, right? So there's the runner, then there's the stalker, then there's the clicker, right? So there's different variations. We're probably gonna run into the bloater at some point in time, I would assume. Whereas with Walking Dead, it was just the lethargic kind of zombies walking around, which again, it depends on the storytelling, right? I'm not gonna go ahead and bash The Walking Dead for that world, the way the writing was. That's how the dead, they said they were basically
but The Walking Dead needed it to be that way.
In their
they needed to be that way, because at the end of the day, The Walking Dead was about the bad people, and oh, by the way, there are zombies around too.
Right.
That's what The Walking Dead's about. So no need to spend so much time and energy on crazy zombies when there are bad people around.
Yeah. So the other thing that's cool too, I thought, was the beginning. We've been asking a lot of questions on this show. I watch a lot of the other shows that do these reviews throughout the week. It's a lot of fun for someone like me who enjoys it. A lot of people we know now, right? Because we had Detective Barry on last week, and Ryan Landis is in the chat.
You talk about the pancake mix and all that.
Right?
Like, yeah, they mentioned it. They mentioned
it this time, right? They did a good job, right? I think Joel set the stage, so there's no questions now.
Oh yeah. He was like talking about like cake, pancake, bread, and biscuits, and well, not biscuits, but biscuits was from episode 1.
Right.
With the
he really
Adlers.
Emphasized the pancake batter.
Because of his
in
daughter,
episode 3.
like,
Yeah.
making it for him. So I was like,
it's almost like when he was talking and answering the question. While he was answering the question, he remembered the situation about him and his daughter, and it paused for a moment to say before he said it. It was very well done. Yeah,
couple of the other things I just took away. Every single meal, we were fortunate to see at least 3 meals, I believe, with Bill that he cooked. By the way, Bill's an outstanding cook.
Amazing, bro. Amazing.
I'm hungry just thinking about that scene. Noticed it was vegetables and meat.
Yeah. Yep.
And did you also realize when Frank said he wants to have and enjoy his last day, he said, we'll start by, you can make me some toast.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting, because he's like, you know what? Whatever. My last day. So if it takes 24 hours, for
you'd imagine that nobody in that world eats any bread.
That's my point. That's why that's a luxury. That's why
crazy.
That's why it was a showstopper at the beginning of episode 2 when Ellie pulls out a sandwich.
Yeah, true.
Joel's enjoying a stick of beef jerky.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it was made 8 years ago. So, we wouldn't do well. All of us wouldn't do very well in the post-apocalyptic world, I don't think. You know what I mean? It would be like, you remember Survivor? Remember that show came out?
Oh, yeah.
Like, everybody goes there and everybody's just, kind of, plump and happy and this and that. 4 weeks in, everybody's like, because they don't eat.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I always think when they're doing casting. And this is a funny thing. This is a pet peeve of mine. It's on Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. They're even doing it here. They've managed to escape a little bit with it. But, like, I wish whoever's doing, if anyone was ever listening to this show, the person who's doing the outfits and wardrobe, could you just muddy up the jeans and the shirt a little bit? Like, these guys are roaming around without, you saw Frank when he said, can I just get 5 more minutes in the shower? He hasn't. Now, Frank was dirty. He was completely full of mud and everything. Great. That was spot on. But if you look at these other episodes, it's like Joel looks like he just stepped out of like an
Abercrombie model.
Yeah. And I'm like, guys, just throw a little dirt on him. You know, I'm not asking for like, you know, industrial light and magic.
Or at least have the shirt be a little wrinkled or something.
Can it be a little wrinkled? Yeah, we throw a little dirt on it. You
Yeah.
know, these are the pet peeves I've had for this is over what years with The Walking Dead.
Mm.
You know, they go up to you guys, not to derail it in The Walking Dead, but they legitimate. They'll go up and be like, "We got to go see Maggie." You know, she's up at what is it there? Now a couple years ago by now, I forget what was it there? Hill, Hilltop.
Yeah.
We got to go see Maggie in Hilltop.
Maggie walking miles and going through
miles
like,
and miles, and Maggie's wearing. It looks like she just came out of a Gap, you know, brochure. And I'm like, what the hell's happening? They have nothing. The place is burned down. Maggie's wearing new boots.
You walk through a bunch of like gross water. Even in The Walking Dead, you watch through a bunch of gross water.
Yeah,
next scene, dry as a bone. What's going on?
You know. So another question for you guys, and I know we're probably going to go with the most obvious. But what do you think? What do you think? We went from the raid where Bill gets shot.
Yeah.
And don't tell me you guys didn't fall for it like I did. But your eyes play tricks on you, right? The next scene or the scene after is the wheelchair coming around the corner. I'm thinking Bill's in the wheelchair. It's Frank.
Yeah.
What illness did Frank have? Do you guys think?
I think
my wife said Parkinson's.
Yeah, I think they alluded to.
Oh.
I didn't watch the after the episode, but some people were saying that the writers and creators were saying that it's like early Parkinson's or just Parkinson's in general.
The way his
Okay.
he was twisted
Like
a little bit, kind of.
Yeah, and he was trying to open
That makes
the
sense.
pill bag, but he couldn't do it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I was originally going to say cancer because he did say to Bill, because he goes, what if a doctor shows up? What if this goes? He goes, yeah, they're going to have door-to-door MRI people come. No, first of all, he made a bit of a joke there. And second, he goes, even when we were fully functioning society, we didn't have a cure for it. But you're also right. There's no cure for Parkinson's either.
Yeah.
And
or ALS or any of those.
Well, the reason I agree with you guys, the reason I agree with all of you, and I was wrong, is it said it took him hours to climb from his bed to the chair, and he said he's exhausted. And if he had just got cancer, unless depending on the type of cancer and where it affected, there's very few that wouldn't have allowed him to get out of the bed and into the chair. So I do think it was probably and I would say it was probably farther along Red than early stages, because he
was in rough shape at the end.
Because I said I turned to my wife, I said why wouldn't he want to stay, just die naturally? And my wife brought up a good point. She says, honestly, the one thing you got to think about is this. Legitimately, they don't have painkillers. They didn't have this. They didn't have that. You don't know and even if they do, they're not the ones that maybe really reduce the pain. He's probably an extreme.
No hospice.
Yeah.
No, make them comfortable. None of that. You are dying the worst way possible in excruciating pain.
In a post-apocalyptic world, nonetheless.
Yeah.
So.
In a post. Although I will say one thing, Mooch. That last scene where they had obviously the raid, and then you saw Bill get shot. I kind of feel like they yada that along just a little much.
Wait,
right?
which part, Asante? The raid?
The part with the raid. Yeah, towards the end there, it was a little bit too rushed.
Absolutely.
Like Bill gets shot. Frank takes him, puts him on the counter. They're looking at the thing, and all the while I'm thinking, have you verified that all of the raid people have been killed? Yeah, we saw some people burning, but they weren't all gone, right? The minute he was shot, the attention was on him. What's to say there are a few still lingering around, but you never heard anything about that?
No.
Bill basically Bill almost is unconscious, and the way they leave the scene, it's almost like Bill's dead, obviously. And then the next scene we see, the wheelchair juxtaposition. How did he get the bullet out? Where did it go? Any of that. I mean, I didn't expect it to be buttoned up completely, but I kind of feel like they yada it along a little bit, and they left some hanging threads that really kind of were just left hanging, and because the next scene and the forward momentum was so good, we allowed for it. We let that happen. But other shows that would have done that and didn't continue on such a momentous clip, we probably would have given them some shit for it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think because of everything before it, it's like where people give it leeway. That's why I mentioned the raid definitely was the weakest part.
Absolutely.
Of the show.
Yeah.
I don't think it was well thought out. I don't think it was well put together.
So this is where there's a few folks in the chat that are saying, Mooch, this is what I was saying to you. We could have moved this thing into two episodes. Is this something that, why are they? You know, Game of Thrones did this in their last season. Are they rushing this? I mean, are they moving too fast?
I mean, they came to this thing saying season 1 was for The Last of Us Part 1. And if you come to it with season 1 is The Last of Us Part 1, and we're not talking about like CBS or NBC where one season is 30 episodes,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to rush some things. You know, it's gonna be what, 8 episodes, 9? How many episodes are we?
Yeah,
expecting?
9.
Nine.
It's supposed to be
There's
9.
Exactly.
9, yeah.
So no matter what we're talking about here, we're gonna have to yada yada some things, you know, because you've already established the network, the idea that at the end of this season, this 8 or 9 episode season, we get to the end of that game. That's a lot of stuff that happens between, you know what I mean? So they're gonna have to cut a lot out.
I was like telling some people, and I think I said it on Big Clouds, like RGT. I was like, yeah, this was going to be Billstown conclusion, 4th Pennsylvania with Sam and Henry, and then the 5th one would be what is it? Tommy's like town and area.
Tommy's
and
place.
then and then the 6th episode would be going to the university, right? And then the 7th episode would be
Winter.
David,
Winter,
and
David,
probably Last Behind stuff. 8th episode getting towards the hospital, probably end right at the front of the hospital, and then the 9th episode's the hospital.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what I think they're going.
You sound like you're onto something for sure.
No,
it sounds like the big beats are episodes, just like Bill and Frank. Yeah.
Red did a really good job of laying that out. You did it to a T too, Red. So I got to give you credit there. The thing about it though is that, again, use the raid as the example. That was just a very raids in the game are a big deal. Joel even makes reference to it. Remember, Ellie says when they were walking towards Billstown, she's like, "What are you looking for?" And he's like, "People."
Yep.
And I think for the first time ever that clicked in her head. She's like, "People? It's the dead or the the infected that we have to worry about." And he's like, "Nah, not really." Because I mean, when you're in the wide open like that, short of a 200, 300 herd infection coming at you, okay? If there's just 10 of them and you're a decent shot, you just pop, you're done. People, they're not just running at you. People, they're in the trees. They got this, they got that, they got tactics. So that's the one thing that happened that I don't think we're going to see in this show that The Walking Dead kind of fell victim to. The Walking Dead eventually left the zombies, and it was just the fight with the people. And I get it. I do. But it got old. It got old, and it was just at a point where it was right after Negan, right? As soon as that episode, that season, the fight with the survivors, once that was done, we were like, we don't want to hear another. Then the whispers came back, right? And then there was the whole thing with the what are they called there? Starts with a C. The last group there that they basically kiboshed.
The beach girls or the garbage people?
Well, so pardon me for great on Maniac to call that out. It was the garbage people that they fought. It was also the beach girls, but the beach they ended up becoming allies with.
I think that show ultimately fell victim to the success of Negan. Once they recognized that people could, the stories of people was really impactful and people enjoyed it, they went, screw the budget for all these zombies and whatnot. Let's focus on the people because they can be dynamic. Look, he's got a bat with nails in it. These kind of things.
And a leather jacket.
And a leather jacket.
Yeah,
Don't forget
leather
the leather
jacket.
Just so you guys know, it was the Commonwealth. That's what that's the last group. It's funny. I almost, as much as you want to love Rick and Michonne and the crew that we followed through Walking Dead, if you think about it, you guys are probably not going to remember this, but the end of Seinfeld, they did an episode, the very last episode of Seinfeld. They showed how Jerry, George, Kramer, and Elaine affected everybody's life. And how they ruined everyone's life. That's what they go through in that last episode. It's how they ruined everybody's life. That's why they were on.
I do remember seeing the last episode of Seinfeld. I don't recall it like verbatim, but I recall something like that. Yeah.
They crammed 60.
What happened to people? Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yes.
And it was funny because I sat there and I'm thinking to myself, even though Rick in the team that we loved and followed was the good guys, even though they legitimately went into everybody's camp and effed things up. Like, especially the Commonwealth at the end. They had one hell of a civilization going on.
And you went and ruined
the
it.
crime that was going on behind the scenes is the same crime that's going on now. Like, that's no different. You know, it's like politics and stuff like that, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, they just tore everybody apart. So it was kind of like a Seinfeld ending of sorts. So, the other thing that's fascinating is we are a little over the 1 hour mark here, and I promise. Shout out to Mega Dave. Oh, Xbox is trash. He just throws that out there for no reason.
Bro,
Dave,
come on, man.
Dave, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that, but that is it's very. It's funny
like we're talking about a show.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say The Walking Dead, was awful or something. No, but Dave, I appreciate
that last season of Walking Dead was trash. Also, Xbox got no games. All right, let's continue.
Asante's doing marketing for Sony now. I see. Okay, yeah.
I wanted to mention, because we didn't talk about it, but near the end, right, we kind of heard like that lines of, you don't bring up tests and don't talk about your condition.
Right.
Like, and I think that was in the game before Bill. I think so. I could be wrong. It might have been that, but it was interesting. Like, I thought Pedro, when he delivered that line, it was good, like really good.
Wait,
so
and I wasn't following you there. What was done before?
Like when he mentioned about do not bring up tests and don't talk about your condition to Ellie. I think it was before Bill's town, but in the show it was like literally at Bill's town.
After. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if I said it wrong, I'll correct myself. I know what you mean. Yes, but there were definitely in the game 2 or 3 times Bill's like, and he's like, damn it, Joel. He's like, I got to be honest with you. I just can't believe Tess would even let you do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. So there was definitely references there, but you're right. I mean, it was very clear that Ellie's secret, if you will, is dangerous, right? The minute that news gets out, well, there's a couple of different things. So there's people who are not going to believe it. And the people who aren't going to believe it are just going to do that machine up to her neck, see that it turns red. She's infected. And they're going to shoot her on the spot. There's those folks. And then there's the other side of the coin that, they may think that she's valuable.
You believe her.
Ransom or I don't know, whatever. Right?
Yep. And then, like, someone mentioned in the chat, I was like, yeah, it was cool to also see Joel get emotional about tests, like going outside.
Yes.
Reading more of it and then crumpling it. Kind of like a little similar vein of how Bill crumples Frank's letter in the game, but in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about hate. It was more like thinking about their emotional, like connection between the two and their romantic feelings. Because it was definitely strongly hinted at the game, and then it was basically like confirmed in the show.
Yeah. So, so it's funny. I'm still trying to get the gentleman's name from the White Lotus that played Frank. If you guys can get that name.
I had that a while ago. I apologize. Yeah. I apologize. I should have said that to you. Hold on. His name is Murray Bartlett. That's his name. Murray Bartlett.
Outstanding actor. Ryan Landis makes a good point. And if anybody knows how to say Annie's last name, is it Wershing?
Wershing. Yeah. Wershing.
Rest in peace to her. She passed away of cancer. I believe it was yesterday. Testing the game.
That's terrible. I did not know that. That's terrible.
It was really like sad, and I was like, I think there is a GoFundMe.
I think there is. And Naughty Dog.
I hope she got to see this before she passed. This is the culmination of such great work for her. That's so unfortunate. That's
a really good point, Asante. I hope so as well. Ryan Landis, thank you so much, for the super chat. Thanks for letting us, bring that up. I apologize. I should have had that in my notes. The one thing that I always find fascinating, and I like that The Last of Us is doing it more than the original Walking Dead, is they remind you just how fast civilization breaks down. And just to give you an idea, do you remember Bill was in Home Depot? And I mean, there's two points in this last episode. He literally, the minute they left, which I think maybe he waited a good 24 hours, maybe when the army and all them evacuated his town, he went to Home Depot, and as he opened up the gate, the lights went down. He goes, "Oh, that didn't take long."
Yep.
Right. And then Joel, when he was telling the story about how the disease and infection spread through wheat, grain, things of that nature, flour, he said the whole thing broke on like Friday or something. He said by Monday, everything was over.
Yeah.
So The Walking Dead alluded to 2 weeks for the world to end. This took 2 days. And I almost believe The Last of Us more.
I think if that were
right?
to happen in real life, I don't think our civilization would handle it correctly.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just
Absolutely.
be it would be total chaos.
Red, we would probably end up doing, you would see the government, we wouldn't know this. I'd be in the middle of a podcast and something would drop. You know, I mean, it would be what the governments would try to stop it from spreading, and the only way they know what to do is to bomb. They don't know. So that you know, it's a twofold situation. Joel bombing didn't matter. It didn't matter. People had already been eating the flour around the world, the grain around the world. So it didn't really make a difference. You know, Maniac, I'm going to go to you here because I like how Red had a point that he wanted to bring up. Is there something that you noticed, liked, disliked about the show yesterday that I didn't bring up, and you kind of want to bring it to the forefront?
No, I don't think so. I think we kind of nailed it all, man.
Yeah, you don't have to. You legit don't have to. I just
don't.
want to make sure that I liked how Red said, you know, the one thing we didn't talk about was this. Asante, do you have anything that we didn't touch on that you may have in your notes, or it hit you a certain way? Again, I really want to just reiterate that, you know, and listen, again, everyone has their opinion of it, but I love the building of the story between Bill and Frank, because again, I want to go back to anyone that's joined the show now that wasn't here when we started. If you go back to the game and play Billstown, you know, if you have a new game plus, or that's where you left off, or you can jump to that, go back and play that again and watch the most meaningful conversations out of the few with Joel and Tess. And it was more of where's Tess, what's going on with Tess. You can see there was a relationship there. Is how distraught, how much he loved Frank, how much he had that admiration, but how much in the game they made it sound like they argued a lot more than they showed in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, because in the game Frank left.
Yeah,
you know, where that didn't happen in the show. And then when Bill gets that letter that they found from Frank, how much he teared up, and he legitimately was angry. He had every emotion in the book, except I wouldn't exactly say he didn't have happiness, but maybe he had closure. You know, so I really thought that was just so well done. And for me, somebody that loves the game, now when I go back and play Billstown, because I will play the game again, it's coming out on PC. I gotta buy it again.
Yeah, I was I was gonna hold off on that too.
Me
until
too,
the
Red.
show. I was like, I'm gonna wait for a price cut on the PC version, and then the show came out. I was like,
Did not
I might
replay
have
it
to
on
buy it.
PS5. I'm going to buy it on PC and play it when it comes on PC, because I knew I'd be playing it on PC again anyway. So I just skipped the PS5. I have it on PS4. I have it on PS4 Pro. I don't need it on PS5, but I'll get it on PC.
Yeah. I just want the trophies. I'm a trophy.
Yes.
I've become this lunatic. Like, I'm nowhere near as good as the millions of other people that have like 700, 700 platinums. I'm happy I have 20. You know.
I was gonna
go ahead, Red.
Also say, because I feel like we covered a lot. I know they did the episode preview, and I think like a lot of people that didn't like this episode, I think like the ones that want mostly 1-to-1 will probably like the next episode more, because you definitely see the iconic like scene where Joel's in the pickup truck, and like you see a guy that has like blood or whatever is faking it, and he's like, oh, he's not faking it. It just like goes full throttle, and I was like, yeah, I think a lot of people will probably like that episode.
Next episode is where I would you guys agree with me? I think the pedal is going to hit the metal, or the metal's going to, the rubber's going to hit the road here, because at this point it's going to be Raiders, it's going to be Joel and Ellie fighting the world.
And
That's
Sam
what the
and
next.
Henry.
Yes, and then Sam
That's
and
going to be a lot of emotional stuff there with Sam and Henry. So it's like people are not ready for that.
Quick thing, and I know nothing about it because I haven't seen it and nothing at all. But I have been told that episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 follows so closely down the path of the game that those who love the game will be so in love. But after episode 4, they start a divergence that people might not like. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen it.
Well,
but that's what I heard.
I want to say I want to get into that, but I mean,
I don't know.
we've already diverted from the game a few times.
Well, but when they divert from the game so far, they just fill in gaps that you knew you filled in with your memory, with your imagination, right? It wasn't really a divergence. It was more of a fleshing out of things that games probably couldn't do for you at that time. So far, with the exception of like the spores, I think every other different decision they've made has actually been additive, not taking away from what we know, right? With the exception of the spores, right? Which they could even thread the needle good there, and ultimately as well. Oh, this kind does, that kind doesn't. They could explain that away. I hear though, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, based on some people who got like access to like all of it, you know, they got, what do they call them, the screeners, that after 4, it starts heading in different, and of course, take this with a grain of salt because the person who said this may not like it or may like it, you know. So there is more divergence there, but it's a different kind of divergence that's not additive. It's just different, you know, and that might be divisive. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to checking it out.
So I know, and I thought it was episode 3, and someone mentioned that episode 3. I think Jack Reeves was saying episode 3 was what they said was different. So that they were talking like that huge divergence was for episode 3 because of
was for episode
character.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously because you know, if you're in the game, you know to see him and all the backstory, whereas in this they filled it out. Hopefully that's as far as they go, and we still continue down the path.
Yeah, I'm wondering where they're gonna also place the bloater, because I'm thinking like that might either be for like an episode 8 thing that will probably happen, or
I'm trying to think of where the bloater would then fit in. I bet you if it enters this season.
Well, they showed it in the promo.
Oh, they did. Okay, I didn't see that. I apologize, but I would think it maybe when we reunite with Tommy, because with Bill not in the scene anymore, then it would be Tommy, I think, right? Because
that might be true.
Well, it occurred in the school when Bill was with us.
Yeah, with Bill, yeah.
So with Bill not there, I would think that you would need another, action piece, and that would have to be Tommy.
Yeah, it could be Tommy, but it could also be when they
up.
are traveling to the hospital or Firefly hospital base thing, which was like they had multiple bloaters, but I doubt they would have multiple bloaters if they go that route. It would just be probably one bloater. So I could see both. I could see your point when it comes to Tommy, Joel, and Ellie taking on, and it can also be that route with before the hospital base.
Yeah. No, I mean it's exciting. I think we're going from where we were, which is a lot of story. We've gotten a lot of story, which by the way, you kind of need that, set the precedent. And remember, there are people watching this, millions of people that haven't played the game.
Yep.
So they do kind of have to, you know what I mean? So they do kind of have to take that into account. And I think they're doing a good job. And I think the action starts next week. So I want to say this, guys. Let me know. I'll do a poll over the course of this week. I'm actually not available next Monday night. I think out of all the episodes. So I'm probably going to do this show on Wednesday next week. Because I'm not available on Monday and Tuesday. I'm planning to do it Wednesday. The worst case scenario is we don't review 4, and then we'll do a 4 and 5 after episode 5. Which is nice too, because it's got a little more meat in the bone. You got more to talk about, more to chew on. So I kind of like that idea too. You guys have been awesome. It's great to have the super fans that are here in the chat that are with us every single week. Guys, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It means the world to me. I can't believe how many more subscribers I've gotten since doing this show. It's been great. And it's really rewarding to have the amazing panel members that have come on every week, as well as having this amazing chat and to see the love. Listen, by the way, all you guys that didn't like the episode, I want to say that a lot of you, I can't speak for every single one. I'm also, talking to the panel. A lot of you made some good points. They thought that Bill's character should have been, elongated. They think that, possibly could have been stretched into 2 episodes. They think that they wanted to, I think a lot of people just wanted to leave Bill the way the game did, alive.
Yeah.
And the door open to go back and, get Bill.
And I want to say that, everyone has their own opinion at the end of the day. People want 1-to-1. That's totally fine as well. And people sometimes want differences. That's totally fine too. Like I think having discussions like that is absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I noticed that like it's like either you're one side or the other side. I think talking about it and like actually discussing on the
That's why a lot of
internet is
people are
totally
like,
fine.
oh, this is such a polarizing and has people like divided. And I'm like, well, that's just the best kind of show you could put out there. I mean,
And I mean, think about it. Just like we got a test flashback, we could still get a Bill flashback in future episodes. Who knows?
Absolutely. We don't know if that's if you have a situation where Bill was shot and he said, again, I have it on my iPad, which likes to just close on me whenever it wants to, but basically says, get a hold of Bill. It says right here, I call Joel, he'll take care of you. Okay, now hear me out. There had to have been more interactions, Asante, Red, and Maniac. There has to be more than just that one dinner they sat there. So there must have been, maybe there was a relationship that we also don't know about that occurred, hence the trading of the, and I get Bill, by the way, and I know we're going to wrap up the show, but Bill was not happy about giving up that gun.
He's like,
because,
it was a small one.
It was just a little one, right? I mean, but that little gun can legitimately come back to bite you, So
we probably definitely get maybe a flashback. I think there will be several flashbacks. Like we're gonna see like flashbacks of Ashley Johnson's character, who's rumored to be Ellie's mom, right?
Yeah.
And there could be a flashback to the school where they go there and there's a bloater and people are happy.
Right.
Exactly. maybe they might do that.
Maybe
or
celebrate the streets again, yes.
Yeah, but I think we'll see probably a build because we just saw a flashback with Joel and Tess. So it's like anything can happen, really. So
no, I completely agree. These are all great. That's the other thing I like to do. Maybe that's something we'll do on the next show. I want to maybe go. I liked Asante. You remember the first episode, second episode we were doing here. I said I wanted to get projections for going out. What we're running. I promised Asante an hour. He's here an hour and 20 minutes. I'm already in trouble with Mrs. Asante.
We're okay. We're gonna get out of here soon.
We'll have to send her a gaming package of something nice. You know what I mean? So we appreciate your time, Kay. But yeah, guys, I want to say shout out to everybody. I see Cult Classic Cage is here. Thank you so much. She's wonderful. Mary Wilcox, Jack Reeves, Captain Ply, Easy Ease here tonight. Ryan Landis, Brian East. You guys are all great. I'm just running through Mr. Tennis. You guys are all just wonderful. I'm so glad that you guys were with us here. Get this work. What's up, Mooch? What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Royal Boyle 78. I appreciate you being here too. Great Royal Boyle. Big Mets fan as well. Guys, just outstanding to see everybody here. And we're going to do this again. Like I said, it won't be next Monday because I'm not available. They'll all be back on Monday after that. But I may do a Wednesday show. We'll see what you guys think. But you know what? Let's go around the room and give everyone a proper outro real quick. Maniac, let everybody know where they can find you, buddy, with any social media or podcasts you got going on. And I appreciate you reaching out to me. Great show tonight.
And thank you very much. Appreciate you having me big time. It's great being here with Asante and Red and you, of course, and everyone in the chat. You can find me on Twitter at Maniac Giant. And you can also find me, I'm on the Gaming Beyond the Box panel Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Very cool.
On their YouTube channel. Yeah, Willie Hood, he was on last week.
Yep, Wilmy was on last week. So shout out to Wilmy and the crew out there. Shout out to Fork Boy too. I know Fork doesn't make the show all the time now, but Fork's still out there on social media doing his thing. And Leo and the whole gang out there. Great to have all you guys. And Maniac, thank you for being here tonight. Red, listen, buddy, outstanding to have you here as always. I mean, you were just on Crossfire, which we had a fantastic show on Friday. The show lived up to its name. If you guys didn't see it, go over and check that out. Red is very vocal this week on it, which was great. But Red, you know what? Honestly, I want to say thanks to you personally for supporting the channel, my channel, and always being there. You do outstanding work. Your takes are great. You're just a people person, man, and you're a gamer true to heart. So let everybody know where they can find you, and I truly appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, you can find me on Fridays, 5 p.m. on RGT Big Cloud's channel, so check that out.
Yes.
Also, check me out on Twitter, Reddit240, Twitch, which I'll probably be on tomorrow talking about a lot of stuff, probably this episode and a lot of like gaming news and movies and TV shows, and go into play more Dead Space Remake on stream. And YouTube, I am still working on a couple videos, and that is also at RedHood420. And great show nonetheless. Appreciate everybody coming through, and hopefully I can come back again. Just like I said, dude, it's always fun to talk with Mooch and have the back and forth with everyone.
Absolutely.
It's very organic all the time when Mooch brings the guests in. So love Crossfire, love this, and continue to do great work, Mooch.
Thank you, man. Red, thank you. And like I say, it's thanks to the support and help like you provide week in and week out. So thank you so much for your help as well. I always say this, guys. Remember, the shows are great, but they're nothing without the panel and the chat. The panel and the chat make the show. You know, I'm glad. I hope I entertain you guys, but you guys are the stars of the show, and I appreciate you guys. The great Kay Asante, by the way. Kay, you know, listen, usually I try to mooch a video game. Unfortunately for you, I mooch the Sands of Time. And I apologize. You know, it's not like I take them and put them in my hourglass. You know, they just
it happens. And don't worry, don't worry. The issues I get is because I say I'm going to have a 2-hour podcast on my show, and it ends up being 3. So it's fine.
That is true. This is true. I see those, and they are long.
They're long. We try not to make them that way, but it is what it is.
So by the way, I got to reach out to him. Maybe this Friday will be the day. I'd like to get Everborn on Crossfire. Maybe
I would love to see Everborn on Crossfire. That'd be amazing because that man loves to debate. Let's do this.
And that's what we do there. That is what we do. Healthy debate. But it's not. Let everyone know where they can find you. First of all, thank you again for being here on short notice, and tell the family I said thank you as well.
Oh no, I appreciate you the invite. Always great to be invited on the shows, and I as you know, I'm a big Last of Us guy, so I appreciate the invite. Thank you guys so much for being here. All the chat's great and lively. Great new panel members I got to meet. Maniac Giant, Red Hood. I will definitely be checking out your stuff. Thank you guys for just opinions and conversations and stuff. It's what we do. We enjoy it. You can catch me TKO Asante on Xbox, PlayStation, Twitter, all those places you want to find me. I'm a co-host on the Gaming Circle podcast show we do on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We like to talk games, all kinds of games. I like to bring up VR, and then I get smacked down because I like that too. It is what it is. Hopefully, we have a lot of great guests coming on. We've had some great guests in the past, so in the future. Hopefully, we can get Mooch to come down one of these days and
absolutely
be a part. It'd be great to have you on. But yeah, come check us out. You know, we have a lot of fun. We get a little slanderous, but it's PG-13 because it's Saturday morning. So
I was gonna say Saturday morning. That's my cup of tea. And listen, Asante, you flash a symbol, I'll be there. I guarantee it. I will be there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite again.
Absolutely, buddy. Without a doubt. Yeah, tell everyone I'll be in touch with them very, very soon.
I would love to see it.
Might even be a good idea to have you both come on. It's great to have people that are on the same show come on. I've always tried to do that, especially the first time one guest comes on, to have them come on the show with another co-anchor of theirs. It's just a great dynamic on the show.
He loves to debate, so put it out there. I'm sure you'll get a good show out of it.
It's going to happen, buddy. Believe me. Just tell him right now. Be like, Mooch is going to ask for about 3 hours of your life, Evermore. So I apologize in advance. But guys, really, we're going to have a great show on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right here at Mooch TV. Please hit the subscribe button, guys. Such a great amount of just numbers are going up, and I appreciate it. I'm going to have a Forspoken review out. Probably, I was originally going to rush it out and have it out today, tomorrow. I said I'm not doing it. I'm going to wait another week. I'm going to keep playing the game further and then have the review out next week, because I really would rather have a quality review out that tells you more in depth about the game. It doesn't matter if it's already been out for 2 weeks. You guys know the whole situation there. Get this work. Welcome to the Mooch Maniac. That's my boy right there. I appreciate that. And I love that. Now I get to yell out his name every week. Get this work. He's going to be one of the Mooch Maniac family members. I mean, the world to me, guys. Thank you so much for that. I can't thank you enough. And then we're going to start streaming on Twitch. The great J Matrix Gamer is setting up a few more last minute details with me, and I should be back on Twitch this week. That being said, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you Friday night, and then we'll see you next Wednesday for The Last of Us Reactions episode 4. But what a great show, great panel, great chat, great episode. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you Friday night. Peace out.